Hello everybody, Survivor Driver here, riding right beside you on another daily commute. And today's music is going to be a tune from the old days by Iggy and the Stooges called Gimme Danger. A little bit of a darker song. It's got a great sound to it, especially the opening acoustic guitar. So, I'm going to touch on Trump's State of the Nation address here again, just something that happened the following day. And that is these actors and actresses that are coming out with commentary. So I guess like Rob Reiner and John Cusack and some lady actress and another guy, and I saw this on whatreallyhappened.com with Mike Rivero, came out and just gave these scathing reviews on Donald Trump's State of the Nation address. And all you had to do is just check the timeline, and they were giving these reviews on his State of the Nation hours before he actually gave it. Like, you know, this Rob Reiner guy, he's not a meathead, he's a pinhead. But beyond that, you know, why does anybody take these people's opinions with any value whatsoever? I mean, these people, if you look at what these guys do for a living in the real world, what they actually do is they play make-believe. That's what acting really is. If you bring it down to its most basic act, they're playing make-believe. This is what children do around the sandbox. Now, some can say, oh, it's art and all of that, and yeah, I guess in its highest form, you could say it's a form of art. But it's not all in its highest form. They're just entertainers, right? They're jugglers, right? They're clowns. This guy's behind me. He's getting his nose out of joint. He's going to have a problem on his hands here in a couple of seconds. So anyway, these guys are jugglers. They're clowns. And why anybody would take their opinion of any value whatsoever is astonishing to me, especially being that, you know, I've gotten rid of television and have for many years. And I'm going to find out what this guy, let's see what this guy does behind me here. It's absolutely unbelievable, I find, riding around on the bike, that very few people actually follow the speed limit. Alright, this electric bike is actually plenty fast. I'm in the speed zone here, 30, and I'm doing 33, and this guy was honking at me back here, so if I get a chance to confront this guy, I'm going to do it. Just mark my words. Alright, but you know how it is today. All the parents are in a rush because they have to chauffeur their children right to the front door of the school. So they consequently all put themselves... Take a look at half the traffic flow now in the morning. It's all parents driving their kids to school. Remember a little thing called walking or the bus, right? But anyway, so I am not averse to conspiracy theories. For me, conspiracies abound. I think anybody that thinks that there's no conspiracies out there, you are in a dream world. There are conspiracies at every level of human endeavor. There always has been. As far as I can tell, there always will be. So in that regard, my question is, who the hell is Rob Reiner working for? Who is this guy working for? He's just this rabid lunatic. I mean, the guy literally looks like a lunatic at this point. You know, as if Trump has just done all of these great injustices to humanity, and he hasn't done anything of the kind. He hasn't done anything like that whatsoever. You know, there's people out there that are even Trump supporters aren't happy that he's not doing enough. But Trump hasn't done anything of any nasty nature at all. And if he has, by all means, leave it in the comment section, and don't give me your usual accusations that you don't have to actually back up with any evidence, like being a racist, a sexist, and all this kind. That's just name calling. Give me some evidence of what Trump has done that's so brutally terrible to the citizenry of his country, okay? And don't bring up the illegal aliens, because they're not citizens. So you can take that and you know where you can shove that. So back to my question is, who the hell does Rob Reiner work for? Because this, to me, his behavior is way beyond just being an actor and a director. All right? And, you know, something else I'll point out too is that these guys aren't anywhere near as popular as they otherwise would be if Americans weren't being forced to buy cable when they get internet. Right? Americans are forced to buy cable. In Canada here, I can get internet access without having to buy cable. There's some people that really put up a protest, and I greatly appreciate it. As I mentioned in a previous video, I didn't realize the value of what these people were doing for me, but I really appreciate what they did for me in that regard. Because I just have internet. I don't have any cable. I don't even actually have a physical object in my home called a television. I don't have one. Now, one could say your computer screen is tantamount to a television. That's fine. I'll go along with that. I'm not going to argue with that. But there is definitely a difference on what's coming across my screen than what you're getting on TV. Yeah, who's Rob Reiner working for? Because it's gone beyond just being an actor that's stating his opinion. He's just this rabid lunatic. Every time I get a picture of that guy's face in my mind, I just see this bald-headed lunatic flipping out, throwing accusations around, like just absolute Trump derangement syndrome. So again, it's like Scott Adams said, this guy's never going to look in the mirror and ask, you know, and explain the election of Trump by admitting to himself that he's been acting like a fucking idiot for 2 years. That's not going to happen. But you know, just keep bringing up Rob Reiner. Just hopefully these people just keep rearing their ugly heads, because they're embarrassing to the left. And I think deep down the left is starting to catch on to that, because you see a 74% overall approval rating of Trump's policy on immigration. I mean, you know, that speaks for itself. Unless they're skewing the polls, if that poll is accurate, then, you know, Trump's on the winning side of this. And the left just doesn't get it yet. So let's hope they keep doubling and tripling and quadrupling down. Because I think in the 2020 election it's going to blow up in their face. People are counting Trump out because he hasn't built the wall yet and all of this kind of stuff. Well, don't count him out yet. It's like he said, he's the comeback king. Now, something else I wanted to touch on is something that I thought about years ago, and I never thought I'd actually see. I don't remember ever seeing it, but about 10 years ago it started to occur to me that, you know, if you were to cut Canada, separate Canada, and go from Saskatchewan, Alberta, and British Columbia, that nice little chunk of land there would make a pretty nice little country. And so lo and behold, on Rebel Media yesterday, I see that there's been a poll done of how many people in the West would agree with putting a borderline between Saskatchewan and any of the provinces east, and having Saskatchewan, British Columbia, Alberta, and British Columbia separate from the rest of Canada. And boy, I'll tell you, if that question ever came up for real, I gotta be honest, I would have a hard time saying no. I mean, I'm at a point now especially with whatever tickles your pickle Trudeau in power, where I'm just thinking, you know, the West would be far better off just jettisoning Ottawa, just like a lot of people in the United States would like to jettison Washington, D.C. They're just dead weight. They're dead weight. They're just bleeding people out west. I just think we'd be far better off without them. You know, the people that I've met from out east do have a level of arrogance that I don't really need in my life. Companies where the heads are out east I'm watching how they operate. It's, as I mentioned in the video yesterday, that they're just, all the high price help from out east is just overpriced. They have no creativity. They're not capable of thinking outside of the box. They tell everybody else they should be thinking outside of the box, and then they hop on plane, trains, and automobiles and float around the countryside looking for ideas to copy. So I would have, a really difficult time saying no to that. I think that that a country made up of Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC would do very well. But anyway, we'll touch on that matter again on the other side of this tune by Iggy and the Stooges called Gimme Danger.
Little stranger, and I'll feel your appeal. Give me danger, little stranger, and I'll feel your disease. There's nothing in my dreams, just some ugly memories. Kiss me like the ocean breeze. If you will be my lover, I will shiver and sand. But if you can be my master, I will do anything. There's nothing left of life but a pair of glassy eyes. Raise my feelings one more time.
Gimme Danger. Love that opening acoustic guitar. So anyway, another thing I wanted to point out, other than, Canada potentially separating, I guess obviously when they did the poll, they asked people in the West and the East, when they asked people in the East if that was ever a possibility, should they be have the light touch in terms of eliminating the concept of separating, or should they be heavy-handed? And I think it was about even, if I remember the poll correctly. Some people said that there should be a heavy-handed approach to it, or some people said that it should be a bit of a light touch. I don't know. I would have, if it came down to a referendum, I have to say that right now, in my mind, I would vote to separate. I would vote to be done with it. It's just not, Ottawa is just not proving themselves to be a valid representative of all of Canada. And anyway, something else I wanted to touch on too is Canadians need to ask themselves this question with Mr. Wonderful, ever glorious, empty-faced Trudeau. What is he doing supporting overthrowing apparently a legitimately elected representative of Venezuela? Now, socialism doesn't do anything for me. I don't think Maduro is a particularly good individual, but as far as I can tell, their election system seems to be no more fraudulent than the Canadian election system is, because don't forget, Trudeau did something different when he got elected, which was publish the results of the election on the East Coast before the polls had closed on the West Coast. That at one point would have been breaking the law, but for whatever tickles your pickle Trudeau, that seems to be just fine. So the question is, what the hell is Canada doing supporting the overthrow of this legitimately elected representative of Venezuela? I think Venezuela could do much better under others, but there's just as much turmoil taking place in other countries like United States, like Canada, like England, like France, and nobody's calling for the overthrow of those leaders. What you've got in Venezuela is a lot of oil and a lot of gold. That's what's going on. And you've got Russia and China getting their hooks into Venezuela. So that's the issue. It's not Maduro. I'm not big on Maduro. Don't really care about Maduro. But that's what's going on. It's called gold and oil. And something else I wanted to kind of touch on, just to let people know that I'm sure many of you know it out there, but something that has been a question in my mind that's been plaguing my mind for about 2 years now, and I think we're at the point of asking ourselves this globally, and that question is does debt matter? And people have gotten so used to racking up piles of debt and not really paying it off, but making installments on it, regardless of what level you're at. On a domestic level, on a national level, people just rack up debt, they make some payments, rack up debt, they make some payments, but they never eliminate the debt, and there doesn't seem to be a limit at this point because the globe has never seen as much debt as it has right now. So, there's a very real possibility of a little thing called the credit system collapsing, or even having a hiccup in it. If the credit system even gets disrupted, people, you got to understand that when something like that happens, that means the food in your stores is going to disappear. You've got to remember that businesses operate on a credit system, right? It's usually a 14 to 21 day payment system, right? So if I sell you a stack of turnips, I give you 14 to 21 days to pay it off. You sell those turnips probably within 3 days. You don't even have to go into your bank account to pay me off. You don't have to go into any of your capital to pay me off. You're just trading the dollars and you're skimming off the top. If there's ever a point at which the credit system fails, you're going to see people saying, yeah, we can supply you with those turnips, but it's going to be COD, cash on delivery. And that's when you're going to see grocery shelves start to go low, start to go bare. And once you see that happen, you're going to see people panic. They're going to start to wake up and say, hey, what's going on here? The stores are starting to go, the grocery shelves are starting to go bare. I don't trust this situation. Let's stock up on some food so it's going to feed on itself. Obviously, you'll see companies starting to go broke. People will become unemployed. The credit system is it's the only way that we're functioning right now. The credit system is actually, on a very real level, trust. And as Catherine, if that credit system collapses, it means basically a loss of trust. People don't trust what's going on. And Catherine Austin Fitts made a very, very good point one time. I thought it was one of the smartest things I ever heard. That old song, "Money Makes the World Go Round"? Well, it's like she said it's not money that makes the world go round. It's trust. It's trust that makes the world go round. And the credit system is really trust. And if people lose that trust, your economic system is going to go down. So just be watching for what's happening with debt and credit, people, because it's a very serious game. Anyway, that's it for Survivor Driver. Thanks for joining me. I authorize you to be a complete pervert and fondle that like button on my behalf. And we'll see you again next time, folks. Thanks again.